in the middle of a barren desert, far removed from everything we know. Something impossible was left behind. Not buildings, not ruins, but lines. Lines so massive, they were never meant to be understood from the ground. From the surface, they look random, meaningless, like scratches across dry earth left behind by time itself. But from above, everything changes. Suddenly, there is order, precision, intention. Shapes begin to emerge, massive figures stretching across hundreds of meters. Animals, geometric patterns, symbols carved into the earth itself. But here's the unsettling part. Who are they meant for? Because from the ground, these shapes disappear. You can stand right in the middle of them and never realize what you're standing on. So why create something that can only be seen from the sky? And more importantly, who was meant to see them? These formations were created over 2,000 years ago, estimated between 500 BCE and 500 CE, long before flight, long before perspective, long before humans had any reason to imagine a world viewed from above. So, how is this possible? How do you create something this large without ever seeing it as a whole? How do you maintain perfect proportions across distances that stretch for miles? Was it patience, trial and error, or something else entirely? Some researchers believe it was done using simple tools: ropes, wooden stakes, careful planning, step by step, line by line, generation after generation. But even then, would that really be enough? Could a civilization with no aerial view truly achieve this level of scale and precision? Or are we underestimating them? Or misunderstanding them completely? Because some of these lines stretch endlessly across the desert, perfectly straight, unbroken, with almost no deviation, as if they were drawn, not by human hands, but by something that never hesitates, something that never makes mistakes. How do you explain that? Others suggest these were ritual pathways, sacred routes, walked over and over again, ceremonies written into the earth, offerings to something above. But then, why make them so large? Why extend them far beyond what a human eye can comprehend? Why design them in a way that only makes sense from the sky? Was it devotion or communication? Another theory suggests they were connected to the stars, a giant calendar tracking the sun, the seasons, the movement of celestial bodies. But when researchers looked closer, many of these shapes don't align with anything in the sky. No constellations, no consistent astronomical system, just patterns that don't belong. So what were they really for? Which leads to a more unsettling idea. What if the people who made these could actually see from above? Not in the way we do today, but using something we've forgotten, something lost to time. Is it possible that ancient humans once had access to a form of flight? Primitive, limited, but enough. Enough to rise above the ground, even briefly. Enough to look down and guide what was being created below. Imagine that for a moment. Standing above the desert, watching these massive shapes take form beneath you. Would that change how you see the past, or does it raise even more questions? Because even with that possibility, the precision still doesn't make sense. The scale, too vast. The accuracy, too consistent. As if something else was guiding the process. Something observing from above. something that didn't need to guess. Which brings us to another theory. What if these weren't drawings at all? What if they were functional? Some of these lines are long, perfectly straight, flat, cleared of stones, almost like they were prepared for something. But prepared for what? They don't lead anywhere. They don't connect cities. They don't serve any obvious purpose from a human perspective. So, what were they built for? Not for walking, not for living, but for something that moves differently, something that doesn't stay on the ground, something that comes from above. If that sounds impossible, then ask yourself this: why are these formations only fully visible from the sky? Why design something that requires altitude to be understood? Who was meant to look down and recognize them? Because it clearly wasn't the people standing below. Archaeologists discovered that these lines were made by removing a thin layer of darker stones, revealing the lighter soil beneath. A simple technique, yet incredibly effective, preserving these shapes for thousands of years. Which means this wasn't accidental, this wasn't temporary, this was meant to last. But why? Why create something so massive, so precise, so permanent, in a place where almost no one would see it? Unless it was never meant for us. Maybe these weren't messages, not art, not rituals, but signals, markers, left behind, waiting for something to return. Or maybe they were never abandoned at all. Maybe they're still being observed, even now, because the truth is, no one really knows who made them or why they exist, exactly as they are. And maybe the real question isn't how they were made, but why they were made to be seen from above. Because if something needed to see them from the sky, then that means something was already there, watching, observing, waiting, and maybe we weren't the first to look down at them. And maybe we won't be the last, because formations like this exist in the real world, known today as the Nazca Lines. And even after thousands of years, we still don't know who they were really made for.